for me in terms of the practice of it is oftentimes I write every day, but I'm not one of these crazy poets like Rosemary and Kim Nuzzo who have to write every single day. There are a lot of days where I actually don't write a poem, and it's okay for me not to write a poem. I really like writing a series of poems. Sometimes an idea will grab me, and I'll write it in a series. These two poems are from a series called Gravity and Light that I've been writing since kind of coming back to Colorado for the guide season back in June. Things, Gravity and Light, number 60. The wind touches all things, 1,000 green things, things we still have no name for. I am not all things, more or less one thing, but sometimes I love everything that doesn't have to do with people. And on those very rare occasions, even people things, but most of all, the wind. It's a very ethereal series. And when I was looking through this series, what was striking me is there are a lot of dreams in this series. This is called In the Dream, Gravity and Light, number 26. In the dream, it was the difference between riding the wave and being pummeled. Both ways unfolded at once. Two paths with infinite possibilities, countless undercurrents, helpless jellyfish, darting schools of shad. Frigate birds hovered in the sky, unafraid to fly. Sharks cut through the water, feeding. And to kick out into the collapsing wave meant to pit imagination against fear, to venture uninvited into another world. In the dream, human invention hurtled from airplanes and plummeted on silk parachutes and cords, insane with the desire for steel and gunpowder, to climb cliff faces, float down mountains bound to boards, devise economies to extract from us the worth of our lives, diamonds, petrol, sex, to drive a piece of metal fueled by combustion down the road faster than a falling hawk, to split the atom because it was there to be split. In the dream, what drove us up trees to live up cliffs behind stone walls was ourselves, to feed or be fed upon. The wheel so round, slack line so thin, the desire to be untethered, unbound, and so filled with power as to realize complete powerlessness. In the dream, there was no difference between gravity and light. But when daylight broke through the curtain in birdsong, and the body stretched heavily upon the mattress, it ached, and each object materialized as it had the night before, invented by human hands and human will, in so many bits and parts. Gravity did what it has always done, and held me there, while light cut through the dream so thoroughly for a long time I lay unmoving. Hours passed this way, longing to be an uncultivated plot of sage in the scrub, red sandstone and twisted juniper, a long, unending river. This also, all summer long, I'm very immersed in water. So as a theme, I guess, it comes up in poems a lot. Sometimes the music of it, sometimes the sound of it, sometimes at Thursday night Snowmass concerts, I dance and pretend I like it. This is called Perfection in Water. It is always interesting to me as a poet how similar poems emerge when they're years apart. This one was from maybe a few weeks ago. This one was from 2 years ago. Perfection in Water. Dream the water dream. Oval whirls from oars, sudsy buckets for cars which swim wild at the bottom of lakes. Tsunami dreams are fingerlings. Fog dreams spend winters where lemons sweeten. I would like to bring all my lemon trees to sweeten in the mild sun where one man shoots to find himself and another shoots to disappear. Because 99% of what we exchange is invisible, and the other 1% is a toss-up of translucent waves, watercress and parsley, cresting over stone and silt before drawing back out to the Kelpie Sea. Water older than light. Water washing away public zoos and stuffed animals. Water, there's not enough of nothing in it. Water we all live downstream, running over everything that is unsolved. Water, suspended in water, a glass of water, a question, suspended. And to see no longer blinded by water, and to know the water at Small Point, which we sometimes called Pete's Pockets and other times called Nugget Makers, and spoke of in French as the Petit Point, where we would fish the Atlantic for stripers and let wave after wave bevel our sharp edges. And you guys really don't need to clap after everybody.
Don't tell us what to do.
I won't tell you. I won't tell you. Valerie, I will not tell you. You know, another thing with poetry is that's one of the most amazing things. A lot of times when I read a poem, I always wonder if it's true or not. You know, same with songs. That poem that I just read is completely and utterly made up. I've never been surfing. I've never really been on the East Coast. I've never fished for stripers, you know, etc. It's just very lyrical. And a lot of times I wonder with songwriters how much of something they're writing when they're making up. Same with poets. Do we make things up enough? Do we use our imaginations enough? I don't know. Another writing practice that I do is I read a lot of books. I read books all of the time. And a lot of the books that I read are really nerdy books, like Red Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson, a lot of science fiction. Yes, I know. But it trickles down. You know, sometimes I'll spend several hours listening to music straight, listening to new music, looking at YouTube. How many people in here look at YouTube videos? Not the stupid people tricks and stuff like that, but there's some really interesting videos that are being made out there. So, a lot of science fiction. I'm going to read just two poems that came out of reading science fiction books. Some Piece of Falling Star. After the time of emergence, among the shores of the Great Gulf, by way of corporate star coalitions of interstellar ancillary justice, a projectile cut into the sphere of the great Earth as acid as a slice of lemon, as watery and rocky as an olive, and as salty. It split the tropo, the strato, the meso, and the thermo, spit debris into the eyes of the heavens, farther from dull than shiny, edgier than smooth. It knocked deep on the doorways of time, and God, leaning against the mantle, startled, spilling a martini as the world's clock fell off its axis and broke. This is called November Interstellar. Would that your distant heat were nearer, to fall into place against my ear, your chest, and hear your heartbeat that rises and falls as breath. I would wake up next to you as a spear thrust into darkness, a burning comet, a shooting star, a pregnant moon. Searching between suns for your body which must wake, tempered by darkness, to move between stars as between lovers, through the enigma of dark matter to see that which does not exist. Would that our syntax might bend time and space in order or disorder, as a speck of dust might also float through an eddy of air, electrically charged or without gravity until a point of contact, to fly in the face of, to call upon, to outperform death, unnerve the entire process and happen or in happening find you next to me. So what? What if what is truly undeniable in this life is not love? What then? Another thing with poems, a lot of times poets are very serious and like lovelorn. Or who said that they're finally feeling like a poet? Was that Pat Curry?
Yeah.
He's depressed. You know, it's not worth it. Humor a lot of times is I'm never intentional about it, but sometimes it's really fun being weird in poems, right? You can be really weird. You undrunk. I want you guys to just think of all the parties you've ever been to and all of the open bottles of beer or beer cans or wine glasses just left on the side. Okay. Undrunk. Eventually, it is flattening to be an open beer, to have an absence of bubbles, a room temperature warmth. Unlike your average can of beer, which is born cold and consumed cold, shattered, crushed, tossed, possibly shotgunned or bombed, the faint hum of electricity calls to me through the drywall. It's not like I'm out in the garden drowning slugs, or even able to tell time, but my psychotherapist says I've got a bad attitude. At some point, I must have been ditched, a non-linear afterthought, trying to make my way back to lips I faintly remember. Does anybody out there have any questions about poetry? I mean, I don't really know much about it, except that I really like it. Karen did.
Could you just talk about what you studied in school?
That's a really great question. What did I study in school? How did I study poetry?
Study poetry.
How do you study it? You know, there's a poet that's not here tonight, Tony Alcantara. So Tony's not here. Tony's a really good example of one of the ways that you can study poetry. You can go to your local library or bookstore, and you can just begin to consume it. You just read it. You read a book. You read a book, and you look through that book, and you say, that poem's all right there. The whole rest of them are not really doing anything for me. So you just read book after book, and then you can start reading books about poetry. Okay, like Jane Hirschfield has a book called 9 Gates About Poetry. Anne Lamott, Bird by Bird, just about writing. Richard Hugo, Triggering Town. Tony Hoagland has this book about poetry called Real Sophistication, and he spells it like Sophistication or something, sophistication. Beautiful and Pointless is another really great book by Gregory Orr. Really beautiful book about poetry. So you can read books about, so you're reading poetry, deciding what you like, because there's all these genres of poetry out there, right? Just like music. A lot of times we think poetry is just one thing, but it's a whole lot of things. And finding the poetry that you like is important. How many of you out there like Robert Frost? Were there any Robert Frost readers out there? Robert Frost and Sharon Olds. Sharon Olds is hot. Oh yeah. Oh yes, we have Sharon Olds. There's all these poets to read out there. Listening to all of our local community poets. Really, I'm just avoiding talking about school. I think probably the best professor I ever had was Tess Gallagher, who was a partner with Jack Gilbert for a while. Not Jack Gilbert, Tess Gallagher and his Raymond Carver, Raymond Carver. And I was thinking about Lindy right there. So Tess, I was a freshman in undergrad, and I got into a poetry seminar of like 60 people, and she was the first person that really, I thought poetry was this really like wowie-zowie thing where you're just, you're sharing your emotions, and like, last night I ate my mac and cheese and wept. The thought of her stuck between my teeth. Couldn't get rid of it. And for our first journal assignment, I doodled and had all this like really wowie-zowie stuff, and I turned it in. I got back and it was like D-, and this note that said, "Come see me," right? And so I showed up into Tessa's office, and she's such a wonderful, wonderful woman, an incredible poet too. And she was like, Cam, she's like, I can tell you're a gushy guy, you're soft. You're a soft, gushy guy. She said, this is really beautiful, but this isn't doing anything. You're not really digging into the bones, right? You're not digging into the bones of it. You're not reading poems and really seeing what they are talking about. Because our assignment was to like read